Hello, can you hear me? Right, good. Yeah, back in the early 90s, I worked in an independent record store in Soho called Select Disc. My job was to file vinyl, CD, cassettes all day, every day, day after day. So the days were long and hard and would have broken my spirit, but I knew it was only a matter of time before I became a rock star with my band, the Pointy Birds. So by night we played all the Camden pubs and venues, the toilet circuit as it's known, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Blur, Suede, Pulp, Radiohead. You know, all the bands that went on to onto bigger and better things during the explosion of Britpop. But for some reason, some unfathomable reason, we couldn't get a deal. We didn't sell any records, and we got bottled off stage at our first ever gig. we did have one big fan. His name was Ricky, and he worked as the entertainments manager at London University, and he became our manager. You know, so Ricky got us in the studio, we recorded a demo, we did some important music industry showcases. We supported his band, and we also supported a bouncy castle. But the fickle finger of fame stubbornly and annoyingly failed to point in our direction. Ricky went on to do quite well though, you know, and I don't begrudge him his success. Excuse me. And I don't begrudge him his success, you know. It's a shame, you know. Pointy Birds, it's a shame because those songs were great, you know, and they still are. So I decided to write a book. Here it is. It's called Anoint My Head, How I Failed to Make It as a Britpop Indie Rock Star. The idea was to try and work out where exactly we went wrong, because it still baffles me. I mean, some people, friends, have said a bit unkindly that maybe if I'd had singing lessons, or we'd learnt to play our instruments properly, or at least in tune, or why we persisted with a drummer that had no natural rhythm. I mean, someone even said it was the jokes between the songs that weren't funny. I mean, I don't accept that. So this book is more of a deep dive into where we really went wrong. I mean, was it we didn't really want what we thought we wanted? You know, some sort of fear of failure or a fear of success, maybe. Maybe it was just a fear of fear. Or maybe a fear of fear of fear. Who knows? Well, the book actually. It's all in the book. It took nearly 6 years to write. And it's, you know, it was good fun. Gestation for probably nearly 50. Or 40, 30. And yeah, it's like going back in a time machine. Back to the early 90s. You know, a more innocent time maybe, you know, not pre-internet, no mobile phones, no pandemic. That was nice. And yeah, so by reading this book you can go back to the early 90s too. Relive all the sounds and sights and smells of Camden Market. Or maybe not the smells, but definitely the sideburns and the ponytails. Yeah, and it was fun to write. Yeah, it's funny. It's definitely funny. I mean, my mum and dad said they were really impressed that I'd written so many pages. So that's good. What else? I mean, it's got Netflix written all over it. I mean, if someone doesn't commission it there's someone asleep on the job, that's for sure. But yeah. Yeah, so if you're missing gigs, then this book could be the next best thing. You know, it lives in all the back rooms of all the old pubs like the Camden Falcon, the White Horse in Southend Green, the Marquee, you know, all venues that are sadly no longer with us. You know, someone somewhere decided that bands were to be replaced by the triple fried chip cooked in goose fat, which I have to admit, they are quite delicious. But you know, those venues might have been smelly. You know, someone said they smelled like the Gorillas Cage at London Zoo, but they were our magical music halls. You know, and once they're gone, they're gone. They need to be protected. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, the story, back to the book. The story also lives in the record shop where I spent quality time trying not to get the sack for misfiling vinyl while I dreamt of becoming famous. But I knew it was only a matter of time. You know, after all, I had the 4Ds, essential ingredients for making it in the music industry: drive, determination, dedication, and desire. The 4Ds. I mean, some people say it's only actually 1D, because they're all pretty much the same, but no, there's 4 different Ds. And some joker once said I had a different kind of D, delusion. That was not very nice, was it? So yeah, so the book's asking some big questions here, you know, not just why we didn't get to number 1 or even number 100. It's asking bigger questions like, where does this desire to become a rock and roll star come from? You know, why do we create a narrative for ourselves? Why are we who we are? Anoint My Head answers all these questions and more. So yeah, now I'm in the process of getting the book out there. I'm hoping Ricky's going to send a tweet about it. You know, he's got quite a large target audience, 13 million or 14 million even and counting. So yeah, he's not returned my calls. I mean, he's probably busy. But yeah, I mean, I'm you know, if he could just send a few tweets, it's not going to take him any time at all. Just like a couple of tweets, you know, and then, I mean, I can cut him in. I don't mind, you know, go 50-50 indie split on any profits, book profits, but, you know, access to that big audience. But, and then who knows, you know, who knows what might happen. I'm not saying we should get the band back together or anything, you know, but, you know, I mean, some people say I've left it too late, you know, smell the coffee and all that. And, yeah, I agree. I mean, last thing I want to be is some sad 50-year-old still trying to make it. I mean, how sad's that? But, you know, it's a young man's game. But at the same time, though, we might have got older. Those songs are still young, and those songs were great, you know. So I say there's always tomorrow, you know. And maybe just a one-off gig, you know, no pressure. Maybe to launch the book. That's all we do, just one-off. I've already spoken to Dave, he's up for it. Marcus, he's sort of working in local government now, but I reckon he'd be up for it. We'd have to fly Josh back from Sydney. I don't know who will get to play drums. I mean, there is Dave, the drummer of Blur. We could ask him, and, you know, failing that, there's always Jeff the chef. You know, he can jump back on the bongos. I mean, it's not ideal, but, you know. And, you know, and then there's Ricky as well. I mean, he might want to come back on board. He might want to manage us again, you know. I'm sure he could make things happen, you know. I'm sure he could. Yeah, buy the book. Yes, buy the book. It's got a bit of everything, you know. The tragic tale of a band who didn't become rich or famous, but had a manager who did. It's a document of a music era and the rise of all some of the biggest British Britpop bands of the era. It's also a tale about friendship, you know. It's half road movie, half buddy film. But ultimately it's probably a coming of age story about pursuing your dreams and what happens when reality gets in the way. So if you're in a band that didn't make it, or you wanted to be in a band, or you're still in a band, you know, this book could be for you. Or if you just want a bit of 90s nostalgia, it could be for you. Here it is, Anoint My Head. You know, the Pointy Birds didn't make it as a band, but maybe they can make it as a book. And then who knows? It's never too late.